It's that time again. Matt Connarton, Unleashed in the Afternoon. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Streaming at WMNHradio.org. You can also get WMNH on the TuneIn app, so you can take us wherever you go on your mobile device, and of course on Channel 97 Comcast in Manchester, and on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page via the Facebook Live. And of course there's a chat room there too, so you can interact. I see NASCAR Nicey already in the Facebook Live chat. Better still, you can call us 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. And who are you today, sir?
Jon C. Hopwood.
Now, why are you C today?
Calm.
Oh, well. Yes. Well, you are a calm and docile creature.
Yes.
As I often say. And we're going to be joined at 4:30 by, I'll let you explain.
Hend YH, who lives in Toronto, and she's going to call up and tell us about the massacre of the Druze people in Syria by, I guess, Assad.
Yes.
And
so she's a refugee from there.
I believe
who's
so.
now in Canada. Yeah.
I connected with her through people I know that had relatives in Syria, Druze, that, had to flee. I think as of last year, 2 million people have had to flee Syria.
Yeah, so that'll be, so she's going to give us a call at 4:30 and talk to us for a little bit. And we will be, she's going to talk to us via online. We're going to connect on the internet, which means the phone line will still be open. So if anyone has any questions or anything at all while we're talking to Hend, we'll still be able to take your calls.
Have we done that before? Have you done it before?
603-250-6007. Yes.
603, that's right. You have to put in the area code.
It's very, very important. Yeah, not all the shows do it, but, we have listeners all over the country, and actually even in Toronto, apparently, so.
Glenn R.J. Ouellette has to add the, the international calling.
Well, he's global, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Ouellette at large, gone global.
Is it 284 countries?
I think he's in 475 countries throughout the galaxy. It's very, very exciting.
Now, is Africa considered, does it have its own calling zone where he's going to be mayor?
It will once he is mayor. He's going to sign an executive order, from what I understand. I mean, he hasn't confirmed any of this. He's being coy about it.
It's very irritating to have loved ones in a country that are not in your time zone.
Yes.
Could you do something about that? I mean, not you. Well, you will when you take over Amiskee.
Right, of course, yes.
Where's an Amiskee?
We're going to be adding time zones. Each street will have its own time zone. Hey, something, I was going to mention this yesterday on the show, and then it slipped my mind. I had an odd experience, a little bit of a radio story here, a radio, well, more of an anecdote, actually. So, but I'm curious if anyone else in the local area may have noticed this. So on Sunday, I was driving. I went to the store. I'm coming back from the store, and I'm a radio guy, and I like to know what's going on and on the different stations around the dial. So I'm old school that way. I like to hit scan on the radio, see what I land on. If I land on something interesting, I'll stop there and listen, of course. And
you're talking about just terrestrial radio.
Yes.
Stuff you get in the car without...
FM radio, yep. And so on Sunday, so I hit scan, and I land on this hip-hop song that I didn't recognize. And I look at the radio, and it's 93.1, and I'm like, oh, this must be a brand new station that just came on. There wasn't anything at 93.1. I guess it's an, urban is the term they use in radio, an urban format station. So, and then as I'm hearing the song, and again, I didn't recognize the song or the artist, I start to hear profanity. I'm hearing the F word and I'm hearing the N word, and I'm like, whoa, who's getting away with this? You can't do that on FM radio. And then it got to the end of the song. And when it got to the end of the song, it just went to static. It was just all static, as though the radio station had never been there. So I believe, the only logical explanation I can come up with for this phenomenon that I experienced on Sunday is, for a moment, I was in an alternate universe. No, not really. No, I think that someone was tinkering with a pirate radio station.
Yeah, I was going to say
somebody in the area must have been doing pirate radio.
Guerrilla broadcast.
Yeah,
you can't go very far.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what though. While I was picking it up, it had to have been close. It had to have been local right here in Manchester because the quality was perfect. The quality was absolutely perfect. There was no static whatsoever until the song ended, and then the song ended, and then it just back to static as though there had never been a station there. So yeah. So somebody, and again, I'd be curious. Give us a call if anyone knows anything about this. 603-250-6007. I'm curious if anyone else has heard this station, or perhaps there's someone out there who was operating on that frequency and who would like to call anonymously. Of course, we won't. I don't want to turn anybody into the FCC, but
did they call themselves anything? Did they pretend they were real radio?
All I heard was that song. I don't know how long they were on the air before I landed on that, but I landed on that song mid-song, and then the song ended, and then it was right back to static. NASCAR Nicey in the Facebook live chat says, oops, I had a transmitter that went 1 mile. Are you trying to tell us something there, Nicey? Were you doing something nefarious without FCC approval?
I didn't think they could go that far. The equipment.
You know, there was that couple recently. I think they're in Texas that got in trouble for operating a pirate station that was carrying Alex Jones. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
It's Ridley.
Dave Ridley, do you know anything about this? Was that you playing the profane rap music on FM radio?
Yeah, something like. Oh, are you? I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Well, breaking up is hard to do.
Not when you're on my cell phone.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to. I can't do much about that. How's it now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good.
It's weird. I have to turn the volume down quite. I have to use something other than speakerphone to get to have my audio sound good. That results in the audio coming out a little bit too weakly. But I do hear you now, and I have a piece of breaking news for you.
Breaking news! Please, I'm on pins and needles.
Well, it's I guess as of 5 hours ago, Checkpoint 3 New Hampshire on Facebook is reporting that they've just set up yet another checkpoint near Woodstock on I-93.
Now, is this one of those checking you, making sure you haven't been hitting the bottle and then hitting the road kind of checkpoints, or making sure that you're in the country legally and maybe we see your papers kind of checkpoint?
Yeah, this is like a checkpoint to try and keep humans from being illegal.
Oh, now where is this? You said it's up near Woodstock?
Correct, but remember they don't. There I guess there's a case pending where they were arresting people for other stuff. That like they were arresting citizens or charging citizens at these checkpoints. Does that make sense?
Well, that's part of what goes on. They check you and then they. Oh, you have a little bit of cash on you. You're obviously a drug dealer. Now we're going to seize all of your assets. I mean, that's part of the scam. Yeah.
It seems like that one may have been part of it. I don't know for sure, but it seems like it was more like just sort of like administrative errors. People may, like if they forgot to update some registration or something like that.
Yeah.
Stuff that's both victimless but also very minor in some cases.
Right. Yeah, of course. Hopwood's
right.
Nodding and pointing at me. I don't know what he means by that.
Pirate radio can only go to 91.9.
This was 93.1 that I heard the station on.
93.1.
93.1. It's an open frequency, yeah. But yeah, did you? I don't know if you were listening to the show at all, Dave, before you called. But we were talking about someone operating a pirate radio station in our vicinity.
Awesome.
Yeah,
first rate.
It is kind of cool. It's like that. What's that movie? Pump Up the Volume. Am I thinking of the right movie?
I don't know.
What's the movie with Christian Slater and he's operating he's a high school kid who operates a pirate radio station.
Why would anybody want to watch a Christian Slater movie?
Well,
you were young, naive.
I like Christian Slater.
Dave, do you know why FM was put into radios in the 1950s? And shortwave, which is on all the radios made like from the 20s to the early 50s, was taken off. the radio. Do you know why?
Oh, this is interesting.
No.
I remember you talking about this before. This is interesting, yeah.
Because during the McCarthy period and the Red Scare, they believed that Negroes, so-called Negroes, to use the term used by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of the Black Muslims.
The parlance of that time, we should make that clear. You're not using that word now.
African Americans were using shortwave as part of a communist conspiracy. Because shortwave is, like in Europe, shortwave, and particularly Eastern Europe, is very established as a radio medium. So they took it off and put FM, which I get you could access, pirates at the time or anybody could access shortwave much easier than like a gorilla can do now. And then FM, it took a long time to like the late 60s for it to catch on. But that's one of the reasons it's there. It's just like UHF. It was John Kennedy that decided he'd push that so that there would be more television stations, there's more competition. Because I guess he at the time figured he was getting, I was going to use the word screwed, by,
you did use
that
the word
the media
screwed.
was in the hands of conservative people that didn't exactly like him. So we'll give them UHF. But, you don't want the people to have access to the airwaves too much, do you?
NASCAR Nicey says in the Facebook live chat that he could choose any frequency when he was doing it. And hello to Fred Bonig from the dailyripple.org, who does broadcasts from a legitimate radio station. We were just talking about pirate radio, if you're just joining us, Fred.
They have to find a pirate. It's in England where you have to pay a license fee for television. They have like vans out there for people that aren't paying their fee and watching TV. And I won't tell you a friend of mine.
It's like a scene out of V for
tries to defeat
Vendetta.
that.
But people forget, just how hostage we are to the authoritarian and racist actions that were taken by the authorities. Many decades ago. Some of the gun restrictions are descended from that as well. But I think it's important to do something about these problems. And the small thing I've done one demonstration, but what the small thing I do on a weekly basis is I just I'm subscribed to Checkpoint Free New Hampshire on Facebook, and I just keep an eye on their posts. And I try to be active there, and at least telling them what I know and posting there and so forth. So I just invite people to come to Checkpoint Free New Hampshire on Facebook.
But Dave, who is it? And I'm going to do that, by the way, because I like that. I agree with that. But who is it operating the current checkpoint? Is it the state police? Is it the is it ICE? Is it who's doing this? Do you know?
Oh, I'm sure it's the feds. It must be ICE or Homeland Security or something like that. But now the problem is that there's collaborators at the state level that have sold out to the central government and have betrayed the people around them, the people of New Hampshire who were targeted by this. And those people are called the state police. So they may be there. They've been collaborating and prosecuting people in connection with these checkpoints, and people that get stopped by the feds. The state will kind of dip in and try and get some victims of its own.
But Dave, I mean, wouldn't you rather they be doing this than, being out there solving murders and rapes and burglaries and things like that, sex trafficking, real crime? I mean, this is something easy that they can do.
I guess that's it's all the government is a revenue collection agency, and the primary mission of the cops is to either collect revenue for the government or prevent anything that interferes with the government's authority.
That's what the war on drugs is all about.
Yeah, this stuff they do with rapes and murders, that's just for show. It's just to kind of build up public support for the real stuff that they do, which is trying to keep the government powerful compared to the people.
By the way, hello to Terry O'Connor, who I haven't seen in a while in the Facebook live chat, as well as Peter White from the morning show with Peter White and the Moose. Do you know, I'm actually surprised, Dave, that they're doing this checkpoint did this just start today? I would think it would be more of a weekend thing. Or maybe they do it during the week because they assume people will be expecting it more on the weekend.
anything's possible. But just think how far south that is from the border. The thing we kept telling people 10 years ago, those of us who are pro-immigration and anti-government, ultimately these attempts to keep immigrants out will keep you in. And yes, they may not be actually stopping a lot of people from going to Canada today, but they are slowing people down who are heading in that direction, and they are targeting people in many cases who are not from anywhere else. They're just people born here like you and me.
Right. Yeah, of course. Pulling us over and harassing us. And, of course, we all know what happens if they pull someone over who happens to be an American citizen and they're here legally and all that. Oh, but they happen to have a little bit of a funny accent or maybe their skin isn't quite the right level of pigmentation. We know that they're going to get a few extra questions. I mean, that's how the game is played. And I think it's awful. By the way, hello to Brian Brody, who likes the video cast. If we were to use that, that's kind of an antiquated term. It's a bit anachronistic of me. Video cast of Matt Connarton Unleashed on Facebook. So by the way, Dave, and we'll let you go in a moment, but how often does this happen? Because I get I kind of get the impression that these checkpoints are more common than most New Hampshire residents probably realize.
Well, it seems like they've recently ramped them up. I've seen them, 12 or 13 years ago in that general area. Like I went through one at Lebanon about that point. But it does seem like they're happening about every 2 or 3 weeks. And ultimately, I think, this gives those of us who are secessionists a little bit more. Again, the whole point of having a secession movement is so that when they do something like this, we can have a suggested solution. Other than being active on Facebook, you can certainly also become a supporter of independence if you have a problem with it. A free and independent New Hampshire, this immediately goes away if we're not tied to the federal government anymore. And the state might reimpose something along these lines, but no federal government, no checkpoints, no immigration checkpoints anyway for the moment.
Well, let me play devil's advocate though with you for a moment there, Dave Ridley. If New Hampshire, if NH Exit does succeed and we secede, aren't we going to need to do something to keep out Americans who try to enter our borders illegally? The borders of New Hampshire?
Oh, Belgium. What does Belgium do to try to keep people from Holland? This doesn't happen. And in the old days, there was not much going on in the Canadian-U.S. border. Currently, we have an open border essentially with Mississippi, which is one of the poorest places on the continent.
Which I'm
on the North American continent.
Which I'm very concerned about, by the way.
And yet people do not flock here. There's no need for all these controls. And for me, I would love to see a New Hampshire where yes, there is a restriction on people crossing borders if you own the property that they're crossing. I think they can't cross the border of your property without your consent.
But Dave,
that part we should have, but there's really no need to stop people from going across the Connecticut River, or there's no need to stop people from going across the Rio Grande River in the same sense.
Well, you mentioned Mississippi, though. Come on, real talk. Aren't you tired of these Mississippians coming here and taking our jobs?
Yeah, it seems like it happens all the time and everyone's dying. No. The people that come here from Mississippi are probably an asset to us in the first place. But if they weren't, there really aren't that many of them.
Oh.
And it's much easier for them, it's easier for them to get here than it is for people from Mexico to get here. And yet there's no problem with people from Mississippi coming here.
That's not what I hear. I hear these people from Mississippi, they come here and they just have access to all of our resources completely unfettered. It's a disgrace. How dare they? Something must be done. And once we get this NH exit done, I think we should have closed borders, and I think we should have an arsenal of nuclear weapons. Are you with me, Dave Ridley?
Not on that one.
Not on which one? There were two.
Any of them.
Oh, okay. I thought when you said not on that one, indicating only one, I thought maybe I'd persuaded you on one of those points. I was excited there for a moment, but all right. So where is it now? Where's this checkpoint? Just so people know, is it on 93? Is it on 89? Do you know the exact location?
According to Checkpoint Free New Hampshire, it was on 93 southbound that they were setting it up, and the post was placed at about 11 a.m. today.
Mm-hmm. All right. So they're going to keep out those Canadians infiltrating the country. That's
no AA.
And what? Dave?
So who leaks this information?
Ooh,
I remember finding out that there were people leaking information from the Manchester City Police. People with right-wing views or these crazy views.
Well, is it someone leaking information, or is it just someone
leaking information?
Because anyone can go through the checkpoint and then post on Facebook, "Hey, I just went through a checkpoint."
That was told? No, you're leaking
Well,
confidential information,
the post that I
right?
saw on Checkpoint Free New Hampshire was a shot of them getting it set up at that time. Again, roughly 11 a.m. today.
So somebody saw it and shared it out.
When it was posted. I don't know when it was photographed.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's already up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's already up and active, yeah. But if someone did leak that information, I would consider them a whistleblower, and I would want them to have the protections of whistleblower laws. And I think that would be grand.
The protections that whistleblowers get in the United States,
that
like having
work
your
that
plane
way.
forced down by jets while you're in Europe.
So it doesn't.
That's what
that
happened to
way.
one of the whistleblowers. Although actually, no, it wasn't the whistleblower himself. It was they intercepted the president of Bolivia's jet in Europe with like fighter jets, U.S. fighter jets.
Yeah.
And and the moon is made out of green cheese.
Do you know
Wait
it's
a minute.
not?
Okay, well, just if you don't believe it, Google it. I'm not.
Yeah, Google. It all tells us everything.
John
You might be right, but
he might be right.
But you might not. I've read so much crap in my life.
And by the way, if the moon is made of cheese, I'm going. I love cheese. I hope it's an extra sharp Wisconsin cheddar.
Yeah, I'll just say, Dave works in a spirit that is older than America, like the Quakers and everybody who resisted the government, whether it was the British Crown or America, like on things like the draft or conscription.
I don't think Dave's a Quaker. You're thinking of Mark Edge.
Oh, but I mean, he's the spirit of, what do you call it? What do you call that?
Yeah, thank you. A spiritual successor?
No,
I hope you would
like,
say that. I mean, I'd be honored
the guy
if
on
you
the
did.
Concord, on the Concord River, Thoreau. What do you call that type of resistance?
Civil disobedience?
Civil disobedience, right.
Oh.
And that's long honored tradition and has many protections, even legal.
Yes.
You just got to be careful when you talk about certain things because you think you're doing one thing and you're not doing another, and you get your you-know-what's caught in a ringer.
And there are consequences, yes.
And then the judge says, no, you're to your defense counsel, you can't use the jury nullification defense. Which the great judge David Bazelon back in 1969, during all the things over the draft resistance, war resistance, one of the reasons he probably wasn't put in the Supreme Court, he said you did have a right to that. And boy, did he get kickback, on that.
He got his, what's caught in the ringer.
Yeah.
Judge Muirhead in Concord, the federal magistrate back in
I'm talking about the Concord
2006
River.
Era, he told Russell Canning, the outlaw leafleter, he told him, you have a right to civil disobedience, but we have a right to punish you for it.
Well, that is basically when you read,
there are consequences.
You are going to get the consequences. You face them.
Well,
I have a library of this, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah.
There's a guest coming on, but that would be a good subject: civil disobedience.
Dave, we're gonna let you go because we have a guest who's gonna be calling in just a couple of moments. But before we do, please, actually, two things. Please remind us one more time that Facebook group because I want to join that, and then please plug the Ridley Report.
Checkpoint Free New Hampshire and RidleyReport.com.
No jingle? We have time for the jingle.
RidleyReport.com.
I love it. All right, Dave Ridley, thank you so much for the call, my friend.
Take care, Dave.
You're welcome.
All right, bye-bye. All right, and hello to Matt DaCosta, who joins us in the Facebook live chat.
There's so little civil disobedience
Well,
when you really get down to it. I mean, against certain things like the war. there is against racism.
How do you
not
civilly
here in New Hampshire,
but how do you civilly disobey against the war?
Yeah, because the draft was something that got right to you.
Right, that was something you could actively civilly disobey.
But a lot of people, like the college kids, had draft deferments. They were exempt, and we've talked about that. How they needed men, they needed 500,000 men, so they dropped the eligibility, the standards down to borderline retarded, which is disastrous, so that all the middle class could enjoy their deferments. They lost them for just 1 year.
Well, I mean, if you've got,
cannon for the blacks.
What if you've got
rednecks that you'd like to get rid of?
What if you've got bone spurs? What if you have small hands and can't hold a gun?
They have something called the Navy Reserve, and then there's the Coast Guard Reserve for the elite.
Oh, right.
That just don't have the. Coast Guard's a fine organization.
Of course.
Navy's considered a little more elite.
That my dad was in the Navy.
But Navy Reserve. Trump could have served in a Navy Reserve unit in New York.
Well,
I mean, the Navy.
He was busy preparing to ultimately become leader of the free world.
Right. This isn't John Kerry, like an Apocalypse Now, going up there getting wounded 3 times.
John Kerry's in Apocalypse Now?
Well, he was the same. He was on the boats. He was a commander of a swift boat.
I thought you meant he was in the movie.
Oh, he hated that movie. He was very bitter about it.
Really? Why?
He said it was had nothing to do with the Vietnam experience that he knew of. But it's really not a movie about
yeah, of course.
It is, but it isn't.
Yeah, I don't think Senator Kerry or actually Secretary Kerry, because he was Secretary of State, he need not be bitter about these matters.
Coppola, was a great artist. It was more about like Francis Coppola and Marlon Brando and their journey into madness.
Oh,
but I always thought that we can talk about that. It is a great movie, and they're re-releasing it with these great digital prints.
Oh, they are.
But, it's strange because here we go.
Here is our guest. Hello, Hend. Can you hear me? Oh, hang on. Sorry. There we go. I think I gotcha. Hend, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. All right.
That's great.
Now, and just to remind everybody quickly, our guest is joining us online, not on the phone. So the phone line is open. So if at any point during our conversation, if someone wants to call in with anything, if you have a question for our guest or anything like that, you can call us still, 603-250-6007. But John, you know her, so I'll let you.
No, I don't know.
Well, you know her better than I do, so I was going to let you go ahead and introduce her.
Well, Hend, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, hello everyone. Hello everyone is listening to me. So my name is Hend YH. I am a Syrian woman who immigrated to Canada 2 years ago. Of course, running away from the war and the unsafety situation there in Syria. So
you're
I'm so happy.
Excuse me, you're a refugee. Would you say?
I came here as a refugee, but actually my uncle sponsored me, so I was a permanent resident from the very first moment I stepped in the airport. So
well, that's good.
Yeah,
that gives you an advantage. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, yeah. Having a family abroad is always an advantage.
And going to Canada now that we have our president here, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, a bit more welcoming, probably,
in Canada.
Our neighbors to the north.
Exactly. I was very welcomed here, actually. Yeah.
Just don't try to sneak into the U.S. We have check.
We're talking about a checkpoint.
We were just talking about we have a checkpoint set up, So just so you know, Hend.
I know. I do know. I'm waiting for my citizenship to be able to visit the U.S. I won't risk it before that.
Right.
Yeah, well, you're very wise, which is crazy because the U.S. and Canada border, there really wasn't one. You could just walk across and come over.
Right.
Exactly.
Different
times.
Yeah,
it's not like that anymore, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So tell us about what you. I mean, let's get right into it.
You are Druze. Can you explain to people? I know Druze because I have friends. And you're a Syrian Druze, and but see, I'm only learning more about that even now because it's not that group of what you call people who are in Syria and in Lebanon. I basically know because the Lebanese the Lebanese
Yeah.
Druze, and then the Golan Heights. But explain who your people are.
Yeah. For sure. So the Druze people are actually a religion minority in Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and some of them in Israel, or like the Golan Heights, which
Right.
is the part occupied by Israel. It's actually a part from Syria, but it was occupied back then by Israel.
And yeah,
Anyways, so we are a minority of religion people. We are a very close, community. We have our own culture. We have our own
Hmm.
like principle, like these like close ideas that we really believe in.
yeah,
We are very united, and we call ourselves the Unitarians, the Druze Unitarians who actually believe in the unity of God.
right.
So basically, it's just the faith of the wisdom. We don't like believe in certain like other ideas or certain people. We just believe directly in God. So this is particularly what differentiate Druze people from other kind of religions.
Right. I made. Could
Uh,
I just interrupt? I thought that it was like here in the I'm Christian. There's. Yeah, I'm staring at an ex-Catholic, which was the Christian church for 1,500 years, and I'm a Protestant. But I go amongst the sects of Protestantism. You go into the Unitarians, then I'm going over to the one I got baptized in, the Congregationalists. But I thought the
Yeah.
Druze were Muslim, but it's a unique religion, is it not?
Yeah, it's not actually Islam.
Right.
It's like long time ago it was like part of the Islam, but like
Yeah. Oh.
we separated ourselves pretty much really good, and we created our own like our own beliefs and our own culture and our own community. We are not that similar to any other cultures or
Right.
like any other communities in the world. We are very united. We have our special days. We have our special Eids. Our like
Right.
these like holy days where when we celebrate certain things and certain, like for example, today is the first day of Eid al-Adha that we share with the Islam, but we like celebrate it
Yeah.
in our different like principles, in our different like understanding of Eid al-Adha. So this is pretty
Yeah.
much what is Druze, and Sueda is a southern part in Syria that has like the majority of Druze.
Okay.
In
Right.
Sueda, exactly. So in Sweden, we have like Muslim people and we have Christian people, but the majority is Druze people. We live all as like one community, one big
Yeah.
community. Even like Druze and Muslim there, they still share the same culture and the same community ideas that we have. So it's basically a cultural place rather than like just a religion.
Right.
I assume the answer to this is no, but is there any kind of hierarchy with Druze, like how with Catholics, you have the Pope and you have bishops and all that? I mean, is there any kind of
No.
hierarchy structurally or anything like that?
No,
you?
no,
No.
there's no hierarchy. No, there's only like we're divided in like the strict religion people who are like we call them sheikh
Okay.
or like sheikh in English. I
We
think
have like
this is a common
Orthodox
word.
here. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So some of the people are very strict in like certain religion. Some other people, the other part is just civilians who they don't really know that much about the religion, and they don't really dive deep inside the philosophy of,
Right.
of the Druze people. It's basically more than a philosophy than a religion. So
It's
Okay.
it's very similar to Buddhists. Yeah.
it's a fascinating culture, but like I have friends, and I've been conversant with this for over a decade, and still it's not something that it's something unique. And
Yeah, it is unique.
but
Yeah.
I had a friend, Syrian Druze, who went to Germany as a refugee, and see, I thought Muslim, but they're not. That was my misunderstanding.
No,
I
they're
could
not.
never get that through my head until
Yeah.
recently. And when they asked, when they got to Germany, because they were a Druze, they actually got treated better
Oh.
than the
Yeah.
Muslim immigrants, which I found. But that doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me because I was stationed in Germany, where if you were like a Turk and born in Germany, you didn't have citizenship, where you could be of German blood, born in whose family left 200 years ago in
Sure.
Russia, the
Yeah.
Volgograd, and you're still ethnically, no, you're a German and you can get citizenship.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, well, it's a little bit different in Germany, I think.
right.
But Druze
You're
people,
lucky to
like
get to Canada.
everywhere,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. Everyone is united here, exactly. So, like, no one can bother anyone with any words or like any kind of actions. So, this is actually a great thing about Canada. Well, Druze people are like very known and very famous of being really like having a good reputation. You know,
Mhm.
we don't have that history of like violence or like we don't have that history of like invading or anything.
Well,
On the contrary, like
yeah.
like on the contrary, we were invaded. Like we were attacked
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times.
Now,
Yeah,
how
and like if you look back to the history, you would find that we had like a big role kicking out like French people and the
Yep.
French occupation from the whole country, from the whole Syria. Like Sultan
1946.
Bashar al-Atrash,
Yep.
exactly, 1925 and 1926.
Yep.
So Sultan Bashar al-Atrash, he was the leader of the big Syrian revolution, who was a Druze leader from Suwaida, from that huge mountain, who led a full revolution in the whole country
right?
that ended up kicking the French people out. So he did not have any tanks. He did not have any swords. He did not have any good suppliers, right? He did not have America to support him. He did not have
Right.
not any other country to support him. He had his own men and he had his own Druze military who were able to like surround Suwaida and surround Syria
Right.
with like, of course, with communicating with other provinces like the coast or like the middle of Damascus or like other provinces in Syria to kick out
yeah.
the French occupation. Yeah.
What we know about, well, at least my generation, the one before me, know about Syria is Lawrence of Arabia, which is considered one of the greatest movies ever made. And, it ends up in Damascus. That's where they go. But what Americans know about the Middle East is we don't know hardly anything. We're obsessed with,
Exactly.
Canada. I don't even think Americans even know what Canada is really. What is it they call
Yeah.
USA Junior? We would think of it, but unless
Okay.
it's the royal family in England. But I first heard of the Druze in the early '80s because they defeated Israel.
It is real.
They
And
defeated
also, I
Israel.
noticed that I
Lebanon.
noticed the same thing here in Canada. I noticed the same. Like people just don't know anything about the Middle East.
Yeah.
They just know the food and the restaurants.
Yeah,
and that's it.
that's America.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah.
even going to celebrate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whenever I like tell them that I'm from Syria, like, or I'm from like, where is that? Oh, is
Great
what
bread.
is Syria? Yeah, like people just don't know, and I'm really so happy that I'm speaking out loud now, like to let people really know that this is not just like the heart of darkness in the world. No, we
Yeah.
have culture, we have history, we have many things to be proud of, not just violence.
Well, it's
and
an
like,
ancient,
war,
yeah,
right?
ancient culture.
It's a big nation, yeah. Like Syria by itself, or like Sueda by itself, had so many old cultures and like so many old civilizations that if you go there, it's fascinating. So
Yeah.
I find it really, really unfair to like end up ruining everything. All this like it's the oldest inhabitant like capital in the whole world to end up like just in this war. It's really sad.
What Americans don't understand either is that all those borders are artificial, like Iraq. It's that, what was
Exactly.
it, the Pequot something treaty between France and England, how they were going to divide up the Middle East, and they got Iraq, the British got Iraq. And Lawrence
exactly. This is
yeah.
Sykes-Picot. This is Sykes-Picot.
And
Yeah.
Iraq and Iran, that border is meaningless because of the religion. People, there are shrines on both sides of the border, and people go across it. It's just an artificial border, and now
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
I
Right.
like about Canadian people or even like American people, that they don't really reflect their governments. Even like
that's-
other kind of like people like that I've met, other like nationalities that I've met in Canada, they don't really reflect the governments. They don't
Yeah.
really reflect like the opinions of like the leaders or like of the governments, which is very good and which is like tells me how much awareness they have. So this is really important too, to see people like aware of what their governments are doing to certain places in the world.
we don't know. Okay, we don't know about the Matt. You're on because we're going to start after Matt. we don't know about the massacres that are going on in Syria against the Druze. And this isn't the only one. I guess there was one in
Exactly.
2015. And
Yeah.
we just don't know. And our
Exactly. Even
president
here, when
said he wasn't going to get involved in Syria. Then suddenly they're combat troops in Syria. But Matt, you were going to...
yeah.
No,
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden, I see like someone from like the American department just support like condemning and like saying that we are against that. So always like the political visions are like
Yeah.
very different of what is happening on the land. You know what I mean? So this is really sad. What happened in Sweden on the 25th of July was such a bad attack that was surrounded like that
Was
was
it ISIS?
actually yeah
We call it
ISIS
ISIS.
attack yeah ISIS like certain groups of ISIS attacked the borders of Sweden on different sides of the city, different like weak villages, small like villages across the city who like you will never think that these might be targets even, you know,
Right.
because Sweden has been calm for like the whole 7 years of the war. I've been in Damascus. I've witnessed ISIS attacks, and I've been like trapped in my house for over 3 days,
wow.
waiting for the army to kick out ISIS from my neighborhood. And I've seen
Jeez.
them, and I've like listened to what they talk about, and I know all about ISIS, and I know how when they attack, what is the feeling that you might think, you know, like you would feel it, you would.
It's
You would
hard to even
sense that
imagine.
you might die any minute. So just like
Mm.
just pray, you know.
Right.
So
Now,
so
yeah.
they even like expected it to like they were neighbors with ISIS because these troops were moved to like a place closer to Sweden, and they were literally like seeing them every single day. Like they see their flags, they see their tanks, they see everything they're doing. So I think the lack of support and the lack of security around caused this problem. So we ended up with a big explosion in the middle of the city, in the heart of the city, killing
Bombings.
216 people one time.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
other people were like killed or also and slaughtered even across the borders where the
Yeah.
attack like the other attack happened. So this strategy by ISIS is actually very smart. Like they attacked at the same time in the heart and the borders, so they distracted people among the city.
Yeah.
And they just they know that this city is not really prepared for such attacks because they know that they're not targeted.
Can I ask you a question? Syria, like in the Golan Heights, the Druze in the Golan Heights, which have been occupied since 1967, rejected Israeli citizenship, and there's a great deal of tension. I guess they've always seen like Syria as a protector because you've the Lebanese Druze, you have the group. I think there's more Druze in Syria. I'm not sure. And that would have been 12 years ago. But so are the Druze considered to be allies of Assad, who is, I would call him the dictator of Syria? And did this have anything to do with the attack? Because when I'm looking at some of the reports, whenever you're dealing with ISIS or ISIL, people are always wondering who they really are, what they're made of. But of course,
Well, basically, ISIS, like, if we're not really here, like, to discuss, like, certain
Right.
political things,
Yeah.
we are here to really, like, assure now, like, the human message that I'm trying to deliver.
right, it's the
But
confusion
ISIS,
of war.
yeah, exactly. To answer your question, ISIS was made with, like, different countries.
Oh.
ISIS was made for a reason, for a reason to, like, so many countries can, like, put their hands in Syria, like to justify the existence of like so many countries inside.
Yeah, there are
Syria.
people
So-
from Tunisia that are commanders in ISIS.
Exactly.
It's like
exactly.
it's evolved. It's evolved.
Yeah,
But-
it is built. It is built. This project has been planned for like many years, and now it's time for actions. So it's a big conspiracy amongst like against the Syrian people or like the Middle Eastern in general. Even if in Iraq, even in like Algeria, even in Libya, so many similar things happened, but for some reason, because Syria has a very good location,
Oh yeah.
many governments, they still need ISIS to be there because they are having fun. They are enjoying their time there.
They're
You know
mercenaries.
what I mean?
Are they? Is it a
Many-
mercenary army or because I'm just going to tell you, I used to be in the intelligence community, but that was a long time ago. But you still know people. And I was down in Washington places. and I was wrote for Yahoo News, and originally people were saying that, well, it's like the United States has created another a bugaboo to have a reason to go into the Middle East, and that it's just elements in Iraq now we're talking about. But this was several years ago, of the Republican Guard, the younger guys, below colonel, that are, having a go at it, and they're using some religious fanatics as like a shield, which, believe me, we know the British and the French, when they went into Africa and places, had the same type of strategy. But
definitely. You really pointed the point exactly how it is. They just wanted like a scary organization to like keep it around the Middle East, so they have a good reason. Oh, these guys are gonna eat you up. We are gonna be there to protect you. And they end up taking the whole thing, exactly like what they did in Iraq. So it is really sad. What I am looking forward now is just like, seriously, the human being situation inside. Hospitals have been like lacking so many suppliers. More than 40 people in this attack has been kidnapped. Some of them are kids under
women,
12.
Girls.
Some of them are like girls, and some of them are like kids under 12 years. So it's crazy. It's really crazy. And like the last updates that we had, I think you all know about that too.
No, we don't in the United States. They don't cover the Middle East like
now,
that.
Exactly. Yeah. Not just like the American side. Even in Canada, like one of the worst points that I really pointed at the very beginning of the situation was like not having proper coverage for this news. People are dying there, and I opened CP24 to find Justin Bieber on there. Like,
sorry, I'm
like,
laughing.
Why?
We know,
or like, why should I know about Kim Kardashian new baby while other people are being killed in other part of the world?
When
right?
I was a writer, Kim Kardashian, one article that I wrote about her went all over the world. Now, I've only been able to live it down. All the serious articles.
It is hilarious. Seriously, it is hilarious.
People getting killed.
People getting killed, women are being kidnapped, and you are supposed to be a political channel who are like posting news the whole day. You're telling me that Kim Kardashian is pregnant. Like, why, right?
Well, we talk about what was it, wrestling, professional wrestling on this show.
Exactly. This is definitely not professional by them to like post such news while people are being attacked and explosions are happening among the world. Right, you can't ignore that. Even like online, I went like, if I was lucky to find certain like short articles about Sueda or like Damascus, but like all in general, like there is nothing. Literally, there is nothing. I'm sure if there is someone like executed like by mistake in Texas, maybe this would have been a revolution in America, right?
Yeah.
Like, why things can be like that for other countries too, especially when there are kids involved, when there are women involved. A woman was pregnant there, and she had to give birth there under a miserable circumstances, and she ended up losing her baby.
And
so,
it's just, we're supposed to make decisions as a democracy and as voters on these issues and like talk to our Congress people and that, when we don't even understand the fundamental environment in the Middle East, like Syria, because we're not taught anything. It's like people don't realize that not only are there elements of the Russian armed forces in Syria, there are Russian mercenaries that reportedly, are controlled by Putin, and there are American mercenaries. Mercenaries since the late 1990s have been increasingly being thrown into these situations, like in Benghazi, which they really screwed up. And when I heard about that, I knew. People don't understand what's going on. I told Matt once, when I was down at, I'm not going to say where I was, pretty sensitive place. We weren't playing a professional war game, but it was like software, and we were doing it like for fun. But, putting troops into the Middle East in the late 80s would be considered an act of war by the Soviet Union. But this is all going on now. The game
they don't understand. They're
turning it into Chechnya or Africa,
Exactly.
A game with human pawns.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There
Matt,
is
you
like a
take over.
game.
Yeah.
There is a game, and that should be played in the Middle East. And this is really what happening. This is like no matter what we talk now, no matter John, like what
Right.
we really say on what we try to deliver, nothing is gonna change. I'm sure no one like from the politicians will listen to us, but the only thing that we can maybe help or like maybe change is the human situation.
Right. The
All what
people.
I care about, exactly, all what I care about right now is just that, like how people are living there now, right now. Like people lost their own supporter, people lost their own like financial supporter who is working day and night to feed his kids. They lost him on the borders, or a woman lost her whole kids. Like a father lost the whole family. 25 people from one family have been
Uh,
executed by ISIS. Like whom I know, like I've seen the bodies of ISIS, and I've seen bodies like dragged in front of my own eyes, and I've
Mm.
seen them how they look like, and they are all like sometimes under 15
it's
even.
amazing to me because we were spying on old Mother Russia, listening in, and I only heard people die, and we won't get into that. But I'm up at the VA hospital and Veterans Administration Hospital, Veterans Hospital, which here in America, we're not treated very well. They're sending all these young guys and gals. These
Hmm.
young guys are there, like in Iraq. The most
Yeah.
appalling things. They have a little ceremony over at our city hall. Oh, you kids, wonderful. You're going off to the military. And like I'd like to say, do you know what's going to happen to them? They're going to have to kill men,
Exactly.
women, and children. American soldiers, because I've seen them. The
Oh my
atrocities
God.
they're going
Yeah.
to witness and that they're going to have to commit. Because like one guy, it's amazing to see these men that, you'd follow into battle break down and cry. Because when they're talking about killing children, a child in a uniform, or what it's like when your column is you're a sniper with a 50 caliber rifle and your
Oh my
column
God.
is moving towards a city in Iraq, and some poor civilian, it could be a woman, a man, or a
Yeah.
child with a explosive device, with probably a gun, a sniper at his back, or hostages, is just inching the way towards the road and will blow up, and you have to kill
Oh
that
my.
person. And it's
Yeah.
like,
They're
this is
just
the
getting him
toll.
trained in there.
And nobody in
Yeah.
America will talk about this stuff.
No,
It's
no,
it's
no.
it's
These
crazy.
stuff.
We won't even talk
Exactly.
about.
That's why I was concerned to really go out online and really talk out loud about this, because I have witnessed
The
everything
human
in my
toll.
own house. I was in the middle of the actions, and I've seen people, and I've seen young kids are fighting with like both sides.
Oh yeah, 12, 13 years old. That's in
Exactly.
Africa
So
too.
yeah, so the world is really really crazy. But like all what we can say now is just like
We
that
have
we
a
have to help. We
we
have
have
to
a
help
yeah.
in a way.
Matt, we
Yeah.
have a crazy president that doesn't want people from refugees from Syria to come in because they're dangerous, right? They're ISIS
Exactly.
agents that
Like
are going to invade the United
we are
States.
considered the terrorists. At the end of the scene, at the end of
Yeah,
the day, we
a
would be
victim.
considered terrorists, right?
Yeah,
Like a victim who's working day and night in Canada or any other place in the world to get like their bread by the end of the week would be considered a victim, would be considered a terrorist for
yeah.
them. Well, it's really
Shameful.
sad, and I'm happy. Yeah, shameful, and I'm happy Canada at least like hosted me. I came here like in a very also miserable situation. I was in
Mm.
Yeah.
Lebanon waiting for my papers, and even like my husband has like had an obligatory military like service there, so
Right,
it
he had the
was
military service. Yeah,
exactly. So if you don't run away from the country, also
yeah,
you would have to be involved in the world in a way or in another, right?
right.
So Canada really changed our lives. But what I feel sad for now is people there. After these attacks, like I had so many calls and so many like messages from families there in Sweden, calling us, calling the Druze Community Center here in Canada to like take them away from there, calling us for like help, for like donations, for anything, because
Yeah,
families there have been like in a very, very bad situation. So
it's it's
yeah,
it's yeah, it's a bloodbath, and genocide is a term that's reserved for if you kill 60,000 people or more. But we live in. I don't even think Canada has recognized the Armenian massacre of 1915 to like 21, where
exactly, exactly.
1.5 million people died. But
even
out of
even
sight,
the
out of mind.
Kurds, even when we talk about the Kurds massacre that happened
Right.
in Syria too, like everyone now knows about it. Like why Jewish people are being ignored like that? Why? We have had a great history with the country. We have had a great history defeating ourselves,
Your
defeating
power
our
brokers.
country.
Well, maybe
Yeah,
that's why
like
they're going to have a go at you now, because the Druze always were a power broker. You know,
yeah,
you were the
yeah,
first country,
exactly.
you were the first people, because it is people to defeat an Israeli army, an incursion
Oh yeah,
that we
yeah,
know
exactly.
about in the West, and they
Hmm.
had then Israel had to deal with the Druze. But look at Lebanon. Eisenhower sent Marines into Lebanon in 1957. You know, the people don't
Exactly.
even understand the history. I have books in my library from 1921 dealing with President Wilson trying to whether they're going to let the Kurds become a country, whether the
Exactly.
Armenians would be
Yeah,
allowed the
yeah.
country.
That
Yeah,
that's what they are trying to do to Syria right now.
yeah.
That's what I feel that they're trying to do to Syria right now.
Well, it's
Even
being butchered.
Sykes-Picot, like dividing like the whole like Middle Eastern into like territories as if they are like just playing around, you know?
Oh, it's the
People will
great game
never
again.
Yeah, exactly. People will never understand this. You have to sit down with each and every person and read history
You have
for
to
them to
see
let
it
them
too.
know, yeah, exactly what is going on in the world.
My
But at the
brother.
end of the day, I would really like recommend some donations for Druze people. I would really recommend anyone who's listening to me right now to go to the nearest Druze community in your city because they have plenty of them in America,
Yeah,
as
I
we
know
have so many
in
here
Los
in Canada.
Angeles, Eagle Rock.
Are
Ex-
there are there resources online that people can look at to kind of figure that out?
we are working on some websites and some links online. Should be revealed soon for people to be able to like make a donation online. But you can also contact any of the team there in Los Angeles or like in
Right.
Florida or anywhere. Just give them a call and they will give you an email to send an e-transfer
Yeah.
wherever you are. So it's always possible to help in a way. Everything will be gathered at the end of the summer or in a nearly date that it should be determined soon too, to be sent to Syria soon with someone who is, of course, a trusted person.
Actually, hang on. We have a call. Let's see. This might be someone who has a question for you. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this? Hello? Oh, hang on. I messed that up. I got too many things going. Oh, they hung up. Never mind.
Occasionally, we have the First Lady, Melania Trump, call in. She had visited Manchester, went to the fire station. Actually, we don't know who it is, but the person can be amusing at times. I'm thinking, I'll help you because my show, after in September, you can come on my TV show. And, of course, Matt, you can go on and post something
Yeah,
on his
definitely.
Facebook page. But I'm just thinking when we're talking
pleasure.
about this, how can you get the United States to do something? How can it do something to get the people out or help them when we just had our U.S. Supreme Court uphold the our orange-haired would-be dictators' powers to keep people out? But I guess
I would love to send a message to everyone,
yeah.
all the governments that they're listening to me, everyone, either
Oh.
America or Canada or anywhere.
Thank-
Just please take the proper people out. I'm not saying that you would have to take everyone. Like I am with the immigration, but like the controlled immigration.
Oh,
You know?
Right.
Hang on a second. Our caller is back. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon. Who's this?
Agreed to plead guilty to involve payments he made to women on behalf of Mr.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on there. Somebody's listening to their radio and calling us at the same time.
Must be the gorillas. We have a
Yeah.
pirate radio station here, and we don't control it. We want to declare our own country. Unfortunately, the piece of land we have our eye on is only about 15 feet by about 7 inches.
Yeah.
It's a piece of border between Canada and the United States that nobody's quite claimed yet because of a surveyor's error. But the things you've been through.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, exactly. Like I came from a specific environment, and I know what's
Right.
going on there, and I know how the youth people there are like suffering. They can't even find a job. They can't even like provide a landline bill, or they can't provide a cell phone bill. So Syrian people are active. Whenever you like bring Syrian people, like all what I, of course not all of them, but like what I've seen here in Canada or even in America, that Syrian people are working so hard to get what they want
Oh,
and
we have
at least to achieve
yeah.
things that they can't achieve in their country.
We have Syrian immigrants, I think, from here in Manchester, New Hampshire. I think they were Roman Catholic, but they
Yeah,
came here, I think, after the First World War, and they just became a part of the community. And
exactly. Even here in Canada, we have like people who they are like the fourth generation and the third generation from like Syrian families who came here long time ago.
our
So yeah,
governor is
and
part Lebanese.
yeah, Lebanese,
Sununu.
Syrian
Right.
people, yeah.
Well, Canada's a very ethnically diverse place, and
So is the United States.
a lot of Americans don't realize how ethnically diverse Canada actually is. I think there's a perception among Americans that Canada is very homogenous, but not at all. It's very dynamic that way,
It
actually.
once was, but they made a conscious effort to embrace multiculturalism.
Yeah.
But so did the
Yeah,
United States at
multiculturalism
times.
here,
Yeah.
exactly. Like the multicultural here is very important because you can deal with so many people from different cultures, and this is really like making the economic like going in a very good path because everyone coming from any country in the world has a specific talent or has a specific kind of mind. So if you are gathering like all this community together, you can see a very good success, which is not bad at all, right?
Yeah, our first lady is from where's she from? Slovenia. It's so ironic because our president, his mother's from an immigrant from Scotland. His two of his three wives were immigrants from Eastern Europe, from countries that were Iron Curtain countries, and he just doesn't seem to be very sympathetic.
No. Well,
It's not very American in my view.
well, listen, we're past the top of the hour, and we've kept you on a long
Yeah.
time, so
And it's a lot to process.
That's fine. It was my pleasure actually to speak to both of you
Yeah.
and to go on this call today. It was very important to me to express everything I said. And anyone would like to make a donation or help Sweden or Syria in any way, please, John or Matt, feel
Yeah.
free to give my number or my email to anyone.
Oh, we'll help, and I'll be in touch with you to get you on the
Perfect.
TV. But it's very
Perfect.
sad what you've been telling us.
yeah.
But there's hope.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
hope.
hope. Exactly. It's hope that keeps us alive, or
yeah.
revenge, right?
Yeah, well,
Revenge.
Right.
We can talk about that. That was Hamlet's problem.
yeah.
Exactly. That was
Revenge
Hamlet's problem. Yeah,
takes you
maybe
away
I
from
studied
God.
English literature, so I'm very affected by Shakespeare. So you
Mm.
would hear so many poetic words every now and then.
Oh, if only you were here, I'd have a co-host for my show. But we have to work. I tend to get sued by politicians.
Oh,
right.
oh yeah. No, you would have to avoid that then.
I try.
All right,
Take
Hen.
care.
Well, thank you very much for your
Okay.
time today, and I'm sure
You're
we'll talk
welcome.
to you again. All right, take care.
Definitely. Thank you.
All
Bye
right.
bye. Take care.
Bye bye. All right.
Jeez, that really. Oh man, can you imagine? It's hard to imagine. It's hard to embrace. You just don't want to think about stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, it's a lot that she's been through. Well, we're a little bit after the top of the hour, so we'll take a break. The phone was ringing again, but it was probably the same person, so I didn't even bother with it. But let's see. I'm going to play this. This is a track that Fred Bonig from the Daily Ripple had sent me that I really liked. All American Made by Margot Price. Really nice song. I'm going to have to mute the Facebook Live audio so I don't get in trouble with Facebook for streaming copyrighted material. But if you want to hear everything uninterrupted, you can do so at WMNHradio.org if you're listening online. So otherwise, I'll say goodbye to the Facebook folks.
the better educational of our nature. Economic security. We find that they
And since this is the last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American."
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Matt Connarton Unleashed in the Afternoon, hour number 2, hour number 2, here on WMNH 95.3 FM, emanating from downtown Manchester. WMNHradio.org, of course, on the Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. 603-250-6007 is the number to call. I see Heidi Hamer in there. Jon Hopwood is here as well.
God, how I loathe Ronald Reagan.
Really?
My commander-in-chief.
Yes.
Yeah, I told you the story. I was out near Simi Valley, and I had to move my bowels. And I could have stopped at a 76 station, but I figured, oh, there's the Ronald Reagan Museum. I'll do it there to pay tribute to my former commander-in-chief, which is a Hemingway-esque, homage to Hemingway, across the river and into the trees, if anybody knows that novel. But, yeah, I found out you can sneak into the place without paying any money if you go through the bookstore, although I would not go into it. But I bought a cup from there, and I gave it to Joe Kelly Lavasser during the 2016 primary, when we were still pals.
So you moved your bowels for the Gipper?
Yeah, it was incredible then, but when you think about it, we had an excellent Secretary of Defense, Cap Weinberger, who actually was responsible for it, and except for the debacle in Lebanon and, Well, what people don't know, Matt, is that 80,000 Salvadorans were murdered in the name of United Fruit during the Reagan era. And everybody thinks it was just like whatever local boss was doing the killing. But the U.S. Marines and our soldiers were sent in there to murder farmers to remove them from their property. And that's something you have to live with, but America doesn't, because wherever America goes, it just spreads goodness and light, like Vietnam and other places. Where would Vietnam be without us having killed a couple of million of them?
Well, we do have breaking news. Paul Manafort has been convicted on 8 felony counts.
Jesus.
So TheHill.com is now reporting former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort has been found guilty on 8 charges of bank and tax fraud. He faced a total of 18 counts, but the jury said it was deadlocked on the remaining 10 charges. A mistrial was called on those last 10 counts because of the jury's failure to reach a consensus. The jury found Manafort guilty on 5 charges of filing false income tax returns, 1 count of failing to report foreign bank accounts, and 2 counts of bank fraud. The decision is a victory for special counsel Robert Mueller's team of prosecutors, which faced its first test in court on the Manafort case. Russia and the 2016 election, however, were not major parts of the trial against Manafort. It was also part of a difficult day for Trump, who saw his former campaign chairman convicted the same day that his former personal lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty in New York in a New York courtroom to 8 counts related to charges of tax evasion, false statements to a financial institution, and illegal campaign contributors.
Is Jon Hopwood soon to follow?
Well, I hope not. Both of these charges broke as Trump took off on Air Force One for a campaign rally in West Virginia. Trump did not answer questions about the Cohen guilty plea from reporters on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews in suburban Maryland.
Maybe Joe Kelly will be my attorney. They come after me.
Oh, maybe.
Those were some indiscreet emails to Mr. Stone, Mr. Roger Stone.
Oh, yes. The verdict follows 2.5 weeks of testimony. It was a very, very quick trial in which the prosecution called 27 witnesses and submitted 388 documents into evidence in an effort to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Manafort orchestrated schemes to avoid paying taxes on income he earned, working as a political consultant in Ukraine, and defrauded banks to obtain loans when the money dried up. Manafort's defense did not call witnesses, not a single one, during the trial, and Manafort chose not to testify on his own behalf. Trump, in several tweets during the Manafort trial, criticized Mueller's investigation as a witch hunt and also slammed the prosecution of his former campaign chairman. I'm reminded of what Joe Scarborough said. It's a witch hunt where the witches just keep landing right on the front line. In one tweet, Trump suggested Manafort... it is a good line. He suggested Manafort was being treated worse than American gangster Al Capone. He also called his former campaign chairman a good guy when speaking to the press.
Made great coffee.
Yes.
Or was that the other guy?
Oh, that was Papadopoulos, was just the coffee boy. He's also taken a plea deal, I think, or something.
Yeah, 0 to 6 months.
Yeah. That was
just minor.
Pretty...
Probably was just a coffee boy.
Pretty expensive coffee. The verdict came after the jury earlier on Monday sent a note to Judge T.S. Ellis III asking what would happen if it could not reach a verdict on a single count. Manafort faces a second trial in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia in September on separate charges.
What are those?
They include conspiracy, money laundering, and making false and misleading statements as a foreign lobbyist in violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act.
Money laundering is the whole crux of it, where the money came from for the Trump empire. Which that's why he's, mewling like a babe or squealing like a pig or whatever you want to say. Kind of like squealing like a pig from Deliverance, but because a lot of people have used laundered money.
Well,
it's part of the Western financial system.
Guy's got to be, really just kicking himself forever getting involved in the Trump campaign. If he hadn't done that, none of this would have happened.
That was part of what he did, though.
He would have skated.
It's part of the McCain campaign.
Oh, that's right. That's true, right. Yeah. But if he hadn't gotten involved in the Trump campaign, he wouldn't have gotten swept up in the Mueller probe. None of this would have happened. This guy's going to be in prison the rest of his life.
John Jr. Hadn't colluded with the Russians to get the skinny on Hillary. If they hadn't worked hand in hand with Wikipedia.
He keeps saying Wikipedia, yeah. WikiLeaks, yeah.
So I once years ago, when Wikipedia was nothing.
Yeah.
I'd write movies, and then they'd ask me to come, and I'd help do some articles. And but the thing is, WikiLeaks, whatever he needed during that election, they got and they dumped. And where's the stuff on Donald Trump? Where's the WikiLeaks on Donald Trump?
Maybe that's coming, but maybe but probably not.
Donald Trump?
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, maybe there is nothing. Maybe it is all a witch hunt.
The P tape.
Oh, I don't want to see that.
Pistomoras?
Oh my goodness.
What's the Russian word? Well, that's not for. I think that just means nude. In the bathroom or something like that.
So Politico is recording. This is the Michael Cohen part of this. He strikes a plea deal with prosecutors. Trump's former personal attorney told a federal judge he plans to plead guilty to charges related to campaign contribution violations and tax evasion.
But what does this have to do with Stormy Daniels? Those weren't that had nothing to do with the campaign.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, actually, when it comes to campaign violations, though, usually no one goes to jail for that. They just get fined. But the tax evasion thing, that's a little different.
Oh, yeah. Well, everything's about money.
That's kind of a no-no, yeah.
You cheat.
It says here...
Unless you're a billionaire and then you skid.
That's
what
right.
he's thinking. So remember, we have David Colapinto who's been on both of our TV shows. He's been on the radio. He and his firm represented I guess he's the number one whistleblower still. Bradley Birkenfeld, who blew the whistle on the Union Bank of Switzerland, UBS, which incidentally has a branch up in Concord, but, don't make anything about that. It's a huge bank. And he reported, what was it that Dave told us? Well, they got 4,500 tax cheats from information of him, but he gave 19,000. And they thought one of them, the press speculated because his wife, his soon-to-be ex-wife, first ex-wife, thought that this was true, that Rudy Giuliani had money in UBS, secret money, that he had business dealings never declared. But when the list was revealed, he wasn't on it, much to her disappointment.
Yes.
But we'll never know who those 15,000 other people were. But at UBS, they were called politically exposed people like politicians that put money in a numbered Swiss account. See, the money map, like Ty, the guy who made Beanie Babies, who became a billionaire, he made them in China, and that was a craze. My sister probably has like 100 Beanie Babies that she'll never be able to get rid of for the rest of her life. And China would pay him money in Switzerland, and he would never declare the money.
Yeah.
It was just there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just part of what it's like to be a billionaire and rich. So no wonder why the Donald, nobody ever calls him the Donald anymore. That's when he was in New York.
That would be
the Donald.
That's calling him the Donald is clearly beneath the dignity of the office.
Like that Helmsley from New York, who they got her for tax fraud. Taxes are just for little people.
Leona Helmsley. That's the real estate industry, hotels too. Because remember, the first big deal the Donald ever pulled off on his own was the hotel at Grand Central Station, which he got like $270 million guarantee in 1974. Now, how much would that be nowadays? $1 billion. From the city of New York. And then the Abe Bean wasn't the mayor. He was the comptroller of the city. Or maybe he was mayor. But the number 2 guy, that gives tax grants and everything, then afterwards became Roy Cohn, partner in Roy Cohn's firm, the McCarthy-related lawyer that taught the Donald everything he knew. We've talked about that before. But here's a guy that used tax breaks gotten from, political juice to build his empire. His first big real estate acquisition was getting the hotel there and refurbing it, and it went on from there. But so when people call in and says, "Oh, he's a businessman, free market, capitalist," yeah, sure, New York, you're not getting a deal. That could be a whole show. I can talk to you. I'm sure you know me. Yeah.
Only Jim O'Connell can beat me about why did Times Square descend into such squalor? There's a reason for that, because there was a battle over it by real estate investors. The Donald wasn't involved with that. He was involved with the West Side Yards over. So, what were we talking about?
Trump said. Trump suggested yesterday.
He always goes right back to it where he was reading.
Yes, that he could run the Mueller probe if he wanted to.
He could take away his security clearance. He's talked about it.
He said this last night. President Trump said on Monday that he could run the special counsel's Russia investigation if he wanted to, but that he had decided to stay out for now. Trump told Reuters reporters during an interview in the Oval Office, quote, "I can go in and I could do whatever. I could run it if I want."
Yeah, he's a lawyer, isn't he?
But I decided to stay out. I'm totally allowed to be involved if I wanted to be. So far, I haven't chosen to be involved. I'll stay out, unquote. Well, that's very big of him.
I remember we were talking on our shows when you were still on TV. People would say, "Oh, we don't want a politician in Washington." And I'd say, "Yeah, and if you were in court for your life or anything, you wouldn't want to have a lawyer. Or if you're going to have heart surgery, well, we'll just go get the plumber. He's got the plumber's helper. Plunge.
Legal experts disagree on the exact process, but there is some agreement that Trump has the power over the inquiry.
He is the first magistrate of the Republic.
Including the ability to bring about special counsel Robert Mueller's ouster. Trump has repeatedly slammed Mueller's investigation as a witch hunt, and in recent months has assailed the special counsel directly, falsely claiming that Mueller and his investigators are all angry Democrats, which is obviously not true. Mueller's
he talks about Republicans. He even puts in, I just wonder when he's going to be arrested. How do you arrest the President of the United States? There has got to be codicils dating from the Cold War.
Be fun to find out.
Yeah. But when's he going to be arrested for treason?
Maybe we'll find out.
because, with a nuclear arsenal, it's not like the old days where you had a small army and the president couldn't make much mischief.
Right. Trump's comments to Reuters come as jurors continue to deliberate charges against. Okay, this was obviously written before the jury came back with guilty on Manafort. Let's see. In the past, some Republican lawmakers have cautioned Trump that firing Mueller would signal the end of his presidency. I actually disagree. But I don't think it would have much effect at all. But
no, it wouldn't stop anything. The legal stuff.
Right. Trump is already under investigation for possible obstruction of justice in the firing of FBI Director James Comey, who at the time was overseeing the investigation that became the Mueller investigation. The president's attorneys have argued that it is impossible for him to obstruct justice when he is simply exercising his presidential powers. For months, Trump and his legal team have hinted that the president would agree to testify to the special counsel. But during the interview on Monday, Trump echoed the concerns of his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who has said such testimony could amount to a perjury trap. Oh, my. Let's see.
Would you want him for a lawyer?
I certainly wouldn't want him going on television and talking about the case, that's for sure.
You might want to be his divorce lawyer. There's a lot of work there.
That's true. Trump said, quote, "So if I say something and Comey, says something, and it's my word against his, and he's best friends with Mueller, so Mueller might say, well, I believe Comey, and even if I'm telling the truth, that makes me a liar. That's no good," unquote. So that's why Trump can't testify.
He can't testify because he's guilty.
Oh, my.
Just plead the fifth.
No, it's they're all against him. Comey and Mueller are best friends, apparently.
That's like my aunt Dot. She said everybody not only was against her, but they were laughing at her, and that ruined my mother's 50th birthday party over in Ward 11, which, shouldn't have probably been held. That's the ward, incidentally, not far from where Vika said that Manchester reminded her of Kaliningrad, Russia.
Was everyone
So I finally revealed that it was Ward 11 that reminded her of Russia.
Was everyone laughing at her?
I wasn't there. Me, my brother,
maybe
Gary,
everyone was laughing at her.
And Gary Hamer, we want to get some cake. Everybody's coming down.
Maybe everyone was very rude to her.
Well, my mother did. She was a lot like Ruth Gordon, if you remember who Ruth Gordon was, the great character actress.
I was going to say, that name's very familiar to me.
We didn't have an Oreo stealing orangutan around the house, but she did have Pooh, the dog.
Oh.
He liked to crap everywhere.
Well, that's a good name then.
And he
Pooh.
got run over.
Well, that's karma. The dog shouldn't have been crapping everywhere. That's probably why it got run over.
Jeez. That was quite a day.
Here's a fun story from a few days ago. LawandCrime.com reports woman fired for blanking Mexicans comment defends remark as normal workplace talk after Trump's election.
Did she actually blank the Mexicans, or was she
No,
insulting
there was
them?
the F word, actually, but I'm saying blanking, so I don't slip
up.
and
Because that is a culture of machismo. They come up, they're men, men's men.
Yes.
They haven't been, deodorized and all this stuff. They don't wear nighties to bed, although we won't mention who does. Well, a person we know.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they're men. I can understand if she, hey, I want to.
Right.
With these, from whatever, Sonora, Chihuahua.
Yeah.
Chihuahua. That's where the state of Chihuahua, tallest men and smallest dogs.
Oh.
The ambassador to Mexico, John Gavin, who people remember as one of the stars of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, was from Chihuahua, as was Anthony Quinn, the two-time Oscar winner.
Well, it says here.
We learn a lot on MCUIA.
That's right. An Iowa woman who was fired from her factory
can't stop
job.
Him. He goes right back.
For saying she hates blanking Mexicans.
Oh, that's what she said.
Yes.
I thought she said, something else.
Is claiming she should be able to collect unemployment benefits because her remark shouldn't be considered misconduct that would disqualify her. The reason? She says it was normal for people to say things like that at work since President Donald Trump was elected.
I bet that's true.
Well, that's apparently how she feels about it. An administrative law judge had agreed with that reasoning, saying that Angela Dyers shouldn't have been singled out if other people were also making comments about hating foreigners and black people. This sounds like it's from The Onion, but it's not. This is legit. This is real.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
This is actually happening.
Crazy.
This is actually happening in America.
Yeah, care of the Roberts Court and the Rehnquist Court. But we won't get into that.
Yeah. Judge Beth Sheets said in her ruling,
That's
quote,
a good name, Sheets.
Yes.
Between the Sheets. I always wanted to write a novel called Between the Sheets that had to deal with basketball. But we won't get into that.
No.
Yeah, that's when I was ML Carr's accountant.
She said in her ruling, quote, if management wishes all workers to be treated with respect, it must enforce respectful treatment amongst coworkers and supervisors and apply those expectations consistently throughout the chain of command,
Right.
unquote.
If you get somebody get caught for murder, like in a high crime area, well, you got to stop. Everybody's got to stop.
You got to stop.
killing.
You got to stop every murderer. That's right. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. Who's this?
Hey, Matt. How you doing?
Good. Who's on the line?
Mike Doyle.
Mike Doyle. How are you, sir? You sound a little bit different. You sound far away for some reason. I wasn't sure that it was you. What's happening?
I'm in the car. I'm having trouble hearing you, but I'm in my car. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Oh no, we can hear you. We can hear you a little better now. What's going on?
Hey, I'm a little worried about your show because you have a pretty good show with a lot of good subjects and stimulation, but pretty soon you're going to be dubbed the fake news of the Manchester Public Television if you continue to have Hopwood throwing out incendiary statements.
Incendiary?
And false statements.
Well, what was?
I just heard him talk about Don Jr. in that meeting, and I didn't know where the law is that where there's a law against listening to somebody who has dirt on your opponent.
You mean a collusion?
That a law that just came into play. You can't listen to somebody who says, "I got something against your opponent."
They weren't doing that, were they? They were colluding to subvert our election system with the GRU.
Is that what it was? Yeah, we got to get
right?
you.
They were not. The Russians never did anything in America.
We got to get you a boot, and you can start running like that other guy that ran in the city. That wore a boot on his head.
Oh, Vermin Supreme.
I gave my Trump tie to him, remember?
Yeah, I do, yes.
And he never gave it back. Well, it was to him, but he never wore it again.
I proudly voted for Vermin Supreme in the primary.
I have a personal grudge against him, but this isn't the place to...
I also heard you mention Donald Trump and WikiLeaks, and when he said in that speech that he was telling everybody that said, in jest, because the WikiLeaks thing came up, that he said, "Geez, I hope they find all that information on Hillary's laptop," and he said it in jest.
Yeah.
And then were running around going, "Oh, he was looking on WikiLeaks for all the information." Are you that ignorant that you don't realize when somebody's just making a joke?
First of all, we have discussed, because I've lived in New York and New York City, and I know about the New York, the way New Yorkers talk, and we've talked about that a lot of stuff he's saying, but it's incontrovertible that the connection between the Trumps using that British go-between. We never did do the show of Cambridge Analytica, but we can do it. Now, we'll bring a chart, and I can lay it all out to you, and going directly into WikiLeaks and seeing Julian Assange. Yeah, because facts and truth don't mean anything. And the Soviets didn't steal the bomb either.
He was telling the whole world that what he wanted to do behind everybody's back.
He's an idiot, man.
That's probably the best way to do it.
The guy's an idiot. We have an idiot as president of the United States, but that wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
Well, wait.
We had somebody. Right. I served in the military with a president that was non-compos mentis. The guy, they didn't even wake him up during an act of war.
The reception's coming from Hopwood's the aluminum hat he's wearing with all the wires coming out of it.
Right, and you have a lot of experience in intelligence work and breaking out networks and stuff. Because you just know that it didn't happen, right?
I didn't say
facts
it didn't happen.
contradicting.
Did you hear me say that? I didn't say it didn't happen.
Where's WikiLeaks dumping stuff about Donald Trump?
He said in a statement that he was saying it in jest to everybody. He goes, "You know what? I hope WikiLeaks can find all those missing 33,000 emails. It was just a joke, you knucklehead."
And isn't it amazing that they did have them? Isn't that amazing? Because WikiLeaks dumped something that I had revealed back in 2014, but we won't go into that.
Oh my!
So WikiLeaks has the 33,000 emails. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, when you're,
okay.
you know,
Oops,
Mike,
sorry,
Mike, you don't even know what you're
yeah,
talking
okay.
about. It's so ridiculous. I mean, I'm at St. A's when WikiLeaks just dumped the stuff about Ray Buckley and the DNC going up against Carol Shea Porter, something I reported on my show in 2014. And come on. You know, WikiLeaks is dumping the stuff right at the time to influence a seat that's in play for Congress. Oh, I guess that's just coincidence, right? Do you know, Mike, when you become a detective in a police organization, if you become an intelligence operative, the first thing you have to, there are no coincidences. You have to disprove it. Yeah, tell us about your work in the intelligence community. Tell us about your work. Right? Come in here and show your credentials. I can show you what I had done.
Yeah.
You ever break out of Soviet defense network?
All I got to be is of average intelligence to be ahead of you, my friend. You're just off on a space. You're on a space trip somewhere.
Mike, you know you're at the level now of like a 4-year-old. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
You can't. He is as guilty as sin, and he's going to be up for treason. You know, here's somebody. You know, to deal with this, it's like, Jesus. You know, you come to Manchester, it's like, what do you have to do? Cut 100 points off your IQ and the stuff. You know, it's like when we were dealing with Gerard and everything. When I was dealing with Gerard and everything. Oh, you're gay. This is that. You're running around with your Gary naked and gay bars and stuff. I mean, this is the level I came back to. It was like coming back to like I'm in high school at 15, and Keith Hirschman and his friends are battling Gary's brother. I mean, do you ever grow up, you people here? You know, I mean, everything here, and we don't want to talk about the city, everything in the state of New Hampshire is done in plain sight. I mean, the thing about Andy Sanborn, we heard about that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The thing about Ray Buckley, things about that happens, Gatsis and that, you know, it's incredible. And, you know, calling up, oh, you know, come on, Mike, he's an intelligent guy. I heard him on your show.
Absolutely he is.
And, you know, we like to go to, you know, hyperbolize to have some fun and everything. Like that, I like to say that Trump's going to get arrested and stuff like that. He's just going to resign to trade off his son and his family after the election. And then Pence becomes it, he gets pardoned. And then we forget it. Because we got to forget it because what he did in kind, not degree, has been done by many presidents, has been done by the Clintons in kind, not degree. It's like with Nixon. What Nixon did, you can compare it to what Johnson did, but it's in kind, not degree. Nixon took it to a level that broke a consensus on how a democracy can work. You don't go beyond certain parameters. But this guy, one of the things, I can't remember who said it, he has never been part of a corporation where he has to interact with people. He's never been in the military. He's never been under any kind of discipline other than what his father, you know. He's always been, it's the Trump organization, which they always say, if you put your name in a corporation, you're advertising that, you know, it's not the best thing to do for a corporation. But that's a business philosophy. He's just a hustler, man. He's a hustler. He's a New York hustler. And he got in over his head because he's a dunderhead. He probably thinks he's a gangster from The Godfather or something. You know, it's just amazing. But, you know, we're getting back to Giuliani, which, remember, I defended Giuliani.
Yes,
and
you
we
did.
got you to play where Chuck Todd actually apologizes. But we know there's something. It's like my friend Mac, an African-American driven crazy by racism, was in Patton's 8th Army, said about the stuff about Obama being a foreign-born Muslim. He said, John, it has nothing to do with the facts. It's a metaphor, and it has truth to so many people. You just don't understand that because you're a college boy. You always would call me Harvard, even though I never got into Harvard. My two disappointments, not getting to Harvard and not getting to the Marine Corps.
Hello to Elizabeth Ropp, the Acupunk, who liked the show on the Facebook Live.
I'd love to have Mike come in and just like you had, and we could just chart it out. But you've got to give up your thing about this love of this guy. It's like, I know the Clintons are dirty. I like Bill Clinton. I know things that he did. Nothing compared to this. His whole chance of any greatness was destroyed by not divorcing Hillary. at the end of his term and wanting to hang on to power. He's a flawed person, and the Clintons engendered Trump. I would have voted for John Huntsman. I crossed over and became a Republican briefly. You can't worship these people as like, what are we, living in a movie or a TV show? Oh, geez, look at Brad Pitt. If you sat near Brad Pitt, Mike, you'd know. The guy, you wouldn't even know who he was because he has no charisma or anything. He's just sitting there like a lump on the log. And he's an imbecile. What do people think?
And hello to Archie Frangudis, who joins us in the Facebook live
that's
chat.
A great name, Archie.
That is a great name. It reminds me of cheese. So when you
and Bob Montana, a New Hampshire native.
That is a great name too. So when you and Mike were talking just now, which was my favorite part of the whole show, you were kind of talking past each other a bit. So Mike was referring to, I mean, unless I'm mistaken, because he got it a little bit wrong. He was referring to the clip. I'm going to play the clip. It's very short. He was talking about Trump.
Yeah, because Dummy is so stupid, he shows his cards.
You're talking about Trump, not Mike, just to be clear.
No, not Mike.
Yeah.
Mike's an intelligent guy. I've heard it. But he gets worked up, and he has too much of... we've talked about this Trump dementia or something.
But what Mike was referring to, I believe, unless there's another clip that I'm not aware of, is when Trump, it wasn't WikiLeaks, it was Russia, when Trump... made the comment. He said, "Hey, Russia, if you're listening, I hope you can find those missing emails."
I remember that.
And Mike was making the point that because a lot of people seize on that as Trump soliciting Russia to actually do that.
But he already knew about it.
He might have. But I do agree with what Mike was saying. Mike's point, and this is why I've never hit Trump on this, is that this particular instance, Trump obviously was kidding.
When
it was not a serious comment. When was it? It was during the campaign.
But how can you say it's not a serious comment? Because people I've had a person on the show, I'm not going to tell you who it is, who was trained to watch everything. I remember watching the trial of Roger Clemens with him, and you're told you're trained what things mean. Here's this siding salesman, this I can't say that word, Gonif, that's just it's a snake oil.
Well, let me play. You might be right. Maybe there's code here, but let me play the clip so everyone knows exactly what we're talking about.
What do I have to get involved with Putin for? I have nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. He doesn't respect our president.
He certainly
And if it is Russia, which is probably not, nobody knows who it is. But if it is Russia, it's really bad for a different reason.
Because
it shows how little respect they have for our country. When they would hack into a major party.
Listen to the language. He's gone into a state. A mental
But it would
state.
be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
He
I
went
think
into
you
the
will
mode of
probably
acting.
be rewarded mightily by our press.
Come on.
Let's see if that happens. That'll be next. Yes, sir.
Come on, Matt.
See, I don't think that was
You
a
could
serious
hear
comment.
him change. You could hear the modulation in his voice change into the actor. How can you say that's not? And he says that, and then they have them. Come on.
But
and then I'm
always...
sitting right there in the end of October, and stuff to influence an election's being dumped. They have the stuff.
Could be other people also. There's a lot of people out there.
You can tell when he becomes an actor.
Wait a minute.
You have to listen to him. You parse words.
But you've got a dual narrative going here. Because on the one hand, you talk about him like he's this incompetent imbecile, but then
he just tipped himself.
But then you're giving him all this credit for
he has
talking
a big
in code.
mouth. He should shut up. That's why he can't get any lawyer except for that Giuliani, which I know. We won't get into Giuliani, but he's got look at that idiot. He can't shut up either. They're bad actors addicted to TV. It's like Lanny Davis. That's a TV lawyer. They're addicted to it. Dershowitz too.
Oh yeah, Giuliani clearly is having a great time.
But
he's having fun.
You're talking about people. He should shut his mouth. Nobody would say something like that. Don't you understand? Haven't you ever studied all this? It's Sovietology. Do you realize? You see, you think it's a joke. You think Sovietology is a joke?
No,
you
I
want
don't.
to come to my garage and see like 1,000 books?
I never said I think Sovietology is a joke.
Do you want to know something?
I just think you're projecting things onto Trump that aren't there.
But you're underestimating him.
I don't.
You thought it was all a joke that he didn't want to be president. He wanted to be president.
I still believe that.
He can't shut his mouth because he's a czar, but a petty one compared to Putin. Keeps his mouth shut. When he talks, it means something.
Right.
This is a guy, a speaking, a premier of the Soviet Union speaking. The words they say, the way it's laid out, where it appears, that all has meaning, semiotics, signaling. This guy signals so much. You can't hear it, but I can. I've studied acting, and I've studied actors, and I've written about them. I've had actors ask me about advice and stuff. You can hear the segue into when he becomes an actor. Now, I've been with people, like I say, they're trained, that can watch liars, how they lie.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't with the company, but other like the Defense Intelligence Agency has people that do that too. But you're listening. You don't understand how serious this all is. What this stuff means. He's such a dangerous person, such a wild card, but he reveals stuff. See, you never lived in New York because, I'd say, oh, yeah, he's BSing you. He's saying certain things. So you're not, when you're on the street, I could walk you down the street because I was trained. What this means, what everything in this town means is a signal of. People are trained and to do that. It's like I could tell you stories. I could take you down a street and tell you, point stuff out, what things mean, what a person showing up with a certain suit, with a certain cut, certain shoes. What does that mean in a city like Manchester? What does it mean in New York? Because that's an environment in milieus I was in and trained and stuff. The signaling, semiotics. That's all. When you're balancing against two superpowers, and Russia is a superpower.
Of course. Yeah.
It's the words. Like if you deal with Japan or China, certain things. This guy is creating anarchy. And people like that because the death wish. But that's a whole nother thing. But you're dealing with a person. He can't say that and then it just can't happen. I mean, I've been in a room where they come down on you so hard to prove what you've done, which actually becomes something that gets a guy a star, and then all of a sudden people with 4 stars are there, which you don't want to be around. You got to understand.
Hold.
And I have to go to my meter because it ran out at 5:42.
Well, we have a call. If you want to stick around for it, you're welcome to.
No, because I'm not. Because this is very serious business.
Yes.
And
welcome
people's lives. People read juries, don't they?
Yes,
like a living.
That's true.
Okay, take care.
All right, John. Thank you.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Matt, Mike Doyle again.
Yeah.
I had to call back to apologize to you. I didn't realize that my calling in was gonna set him into a 5-minute frenzy of dead air, which meant nothing. So I apologize. That was horrible.
No.
I shouldn't have. You better get him a paramedic. It sounds like he's gonna blow. But let me see. For the last 4 minutes of your show, let me just see if I got the right take that he was saying.
Yeah.
That Trumpy in his speech changed tones and was tipping off Putin to something, to investigate or to put wiretap somewhere.
Yeah.
That's where he was going.
To find.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a pretty normal guy. I think that's just a tad of a stretch, but.
No, I agree with you, and I understand. I understand what Hopwood is saying, and he was a Sovietologist, and he understands that people talk in these codes and they mean things and whatnot. But I think he's giving Trump far too much credit, and I agree with your take that it was a facetious comment. Trump wasn't literally, because John kept saying, "Well, Trump said it, and then it happened," but it didn't happen. What Trump was suggesting didn't happen. The Russians did not find the 33,000 missing emails that Trump was referring to, so that right. Part doesn't add up. So no, I tend to agree with you on that. I think Trump was just
I know.
being silly.
I'd like to, someday do a show when everybody's talking politics. Do a show about just what if nobody ever reverses the scenario, and just what if Donald Trump is not guilty of anything?
Yeah.
Besides playing the political game a little bit like everybody else does, listening to somebody wants to say, "Hey, I got some dirt on Hillary." All all right, I'll listen, But just what if? Nobody ever wonders that. It's always, it's got to be, he's got to have done something. He's tipped off Putin in his speech. He's secret meetings with the Russian lady. Oh, I mean, just what if? Just what if it was not that? That's what I never hear. I never hear it. Just it has to be. It has to be. It has to be. And to this day, nothing's been proven.
Right. Well, so, I've said that it's possible that Trump's not guilty of colluding with the Russians or anything. But I just, it's like Trey Gowdy says: if you're not guilty, act like you're not guilty. And that was Trey Gowdy who said that.
The problem is, and the only thing I agreed with Hopwood in the last 4 minutes there was the problem is Trump. He needs to learn how to shut his mouth.
Oh,
he says stupid stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I love the guy for what he's doing for the country. And what he's doing as a nation for us. People don't see it yet, but if you give him a couple more years, I think people on the other side will see with the unemployment. And anyways, but all I'm saying is things like when he said the thing about McCain, I was embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
I was embarrassed for me and for him.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
So he's a businessman that thinks he has a sense of humor. And he's horrible at it, and his mouth gets him in trouble a lot. But the bottom line is, he's running the USA, and for a guy who's a wheeler dealer, he's holding in an international card game, he's holding a Royal Straight Flush, and he's playing against all these other countries, and he's saying, you don't want to play with us, you're out. You don't want to pay your bills, you're out. You don't want to have fair trade, you're out. So I don't know why people don't see that he's just trying to make it equal for us with everybody else, So I don't know, maybe not, but that's what I see.
Yeah, I don't see it quite that way, Mike. But we are running out of time. But to your point before, I do agree with your assessment of Trump's comment, and I'm not sure that John understood when you guys were going back and forth that because you were kind of talking past each other, which happens sometimes. But
Yeah, I know. I get wound up. I should.
Well,
anyway, sorry. Hey.
No, don't apologize. It was good radio.
That Connarton stimulating show.
Yes. All right, thank you, Mike.
It always is.
Thanks, Mike. And
all right, man. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Take care. All right, that was Mike Doyle, and no apologies. I thought that was to me that was the most exciting part of today's show was the two of them arguing. Fred Bonig from thedailyripple.org just dropped a link into the Facebook live chat from a website called themoscowproject.org. Trump's Russia cover-up by the numbers, 87 plus contacts with Russia-linked operatives. This was last updated on August 6th, so obviously we don't have time to go through it now, but it is in the Facebook live chat if you want to check that out. Thanks, Fred. Let's see, what have we got? Yeah, we're almost out of show, but if you are joining us late, just quickly, breaking news, Manafort has been convicted on 10 counts, plus he still has another trial coming up in September. Yeah, he's got another trial he's going to have to go through, so obviously, and he lied about all of them, Fred says, referring to what's in this article here, these contacts. But Manafort clearly is going to be spending the rest of his life in prison, and Michael Cohen has taken a plea deal. I'll be very interested to see, does Trump start issuing pardons on either of these guys or anyone else? What happens next? We shall see. But it is a it is a fascinating time to be alive, that's for sure. I never did get through the whole this article. That's from lawandcrime.com. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and I should probably do this more often as I'm referring to things. I'm going to post a link to that in the Facebook live chat for those of you that want to check that out. The woman who was fired for making remarks about Mexicans. And then the judge who backed her up on it, saying, "Well, if that's acceptable in the workplace environment, then hey, what are you going to do?" Basically. Pretty crazy stuff. So tomorrow on the show, we will be joined by, at 4:30 p., Dr. John D. Rich Jr. Of course, he joins us typically every other week, every other Wednesday on the show, although we did miss him a couple of weeks ago, and that was actually that was my own fault. I had made an error, so I need to pay better attention to the calendar. But Fred posted another thing. What did you put in there, Fred? Let's see. Oh, this link is safe, according to McAfee. That's good. Let's see. Is it a song? Oh, yes. Roy Zimmerman. Yeah, I've actually played this on the show before. I'll actually play this. I'll play this again to finish up. I think Mike Doyle won't care for this much, but it's The Dawn, a parody of the Godfather theme, as done by Roy Zimmerman. Yeah, this is funny. So we'll end with this. So thanks, Fred. And listen, hey, thank you all. An exciting show. Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org. You can find it there and listen to it at your leisure. Let's see. I'll be back tomorrow. All right. What more is there to say, really? I want to go ahead and play this because this is really good. All right. Take care, everybody.
Speak softly now and say you're loyal to the dawn. And say Mike Flynn is someone you'll go easy on. You won't repeat these things I've said. It'd be a